How many times last year did you hear me extol the virtues of mobile NAS? These devices that you can fit in your bag and ultimately bridge the gap between network attached storage and direct attached storage. Although there were multiple examples over the course of that 1.5 years, it has to be said that the best examples came from a brand called UnifyDrive. And alongside the UT2 and the UP6 that we talked about at the end of 2025, they've now got a new little thing up their sleeve. The PixelMob, first shown off during NAB 2026 over in Vegas. My colleague Dan was over there meeting and greeting with some of the brands and got first hands on with the device. Now, before we even go any further, I'm going to make it clear right now, this is not for everyone. This is not a traditional NAS. This is very much targeting straight down the barrel to photo and video editors that were already looking at the likes of the UT2 and the UP6 from this brand as good mobile data that allowed them to carry large amounts of data, but also crucially back up and synchronize and have copies of data taken care of while they were on the go, saving a lot of time. I did a whole demonstration about this on planes and on bikes. It effectively looks like a NAS mobile phone, if you can imagine such a thing. I'm sure there's stuff here on screen. The traditional specifications, it's running on an ARM CPU. It's the Arcade 3588 combined as a quad-core ARM, technically an 8-core ARM, an A76 and an A55 processor there. Also with ARM Mali graphics G610. This is a ARM-based NPU-assisted CPU. Also arriving with 12 gigabytes of DDR4 memory, and alongside that the system arrived with a 64 gig internal capacity there for the operating system. Now alongside that, the standard class model is going to have two M.2 NVMe slots inside. We'll talk about the Pro Series model in a bit. Now this device is ultimately like a chunky touchscreen mobile phone. It's got USB Type-C connectivity, it's got those M.2s inside the storage, but it also has USB ports externally alongside a 2.5 gigabit network port and Wi-Fi connectivity, presumably 6 or 6E at the very least. Now, this is where we kind of go weird, because at this point, we've got HDMI in and out. You heard me correctly. HDMI out we've seen on multiple NAS devices, allowing you to just output multimedia from the NAS onto a TV or any kind of visual display. HDMI in the case of this device, allows you to input media from another device, like a high-spec camera, and then from there, that device is then sending a stream to this NAS, which is then being recorded. This is the first NAS I've ever seen that is being designed to work in conjunction with high-quality recording equipment to capture the stream. Not just record and then back up, but having a camera, such high-end cameras we use a lot of the time, that is not only going to be recording locally to its own SD, but it's also going to be recording over the HDMI out via the NAS, when you have that secondary display via mini HDMI Type-C, stuff like that. Now, as this is a mobile NAS from UnifyDrive, it benefits from a lot of the software and hardware development of the previous two devices. For example, it has that DAS mode that allows you to utilize the storage on it via local direct attached storage. And again, wait till I talked about the Pro. This device also takes advantage of that LCD touchscreen that allows you to largely clientless header interact with the data on the NAS. If you saw my UP6 video, you'll know that ultimately what that means is instead of having to use your mobile phone to look up, access the NAS and get stuff done, to send data around, this allows you to do it all directly on the NAS's own screen, to preview files, check files, initiate shares, arrange your storage, ultimately allow you to interact with the very drive you are holding, not via a client. Now, earlier on I mentioned about this device benefiting from the development of those two previous units, but it's only when we get onto the Pro Series model where it really picks up. Because the Pro Series model, although some of the specifications are a little thinner, it looks like this is going to be supporting USB 4, otherwise known as Thunderbolt 4. They're also going to have a much more powerful CPU from what I understand, but again, TBC on that one. And that one will also support 3 M.2 NVMe slots. That means bigger, better storage involving things like RAID 5, Alongside that, taking advantage of much higher throughput potential inside. All of this still does hit something of a wall, and that is, in terms of portability, what about battery power? You need a device that sure is going to run if it can have power pass through from the device it's connected to, perhaps via USB, but what about its own internal power system? And the specifications I've got here indicate an 11,600 milliamp battery inside. The brand says this means that the device will last in active use for up to 8 hours. But alongside that, the rear of the system does show that it does have an external battery pack option as well to add portable power on the go for this. So again, very intriguing, and that combined with a larger OLED screen on the Pro Series model all add up to an exceedingly unique proposition here in terms of a NAS drive that you carry around with you, but it's actually have bigger, broader scope for its utilization to a creator than just generally where I'm storing my files. Needless to say though, everything I've seen so far indicates that this is a late stage prototype device, and therefore everything I've mentioned up to this point is subject to change. I'm sure there are some elements that simply won't. The support of M.2, the 2.5 gigabit network, although the brand is saying they're investigating 10 gig, I'll be interested to see how that impacts power and thermals. Also, the device has got a couple of SD card slots there. It has all of the features and feasibility of previous generation portable NASs, but it just scales things up tremendously here. And that combined with their operating system, which I remember saying in my review last year, is genuinely one of the best NAS operating systems coming out of China, I would argue. It combined with local AI features and functionality and assistance, thanks to that NPU assisted CPU, but also off-site cloud AI integration if you choose, securely opt-in, opt-out, and with 256-bit encryption, all add up to a system here that's incredibly portable, but I would argue, if they can stand by their claims, incredibly functional. But let's find out more soon. But this has been the UnifyDrive PixelMob. Seriously, guys, I'd maybe look into that name the tiniest bit, but I will see you next time.